Aniimo is a free-to-play, massive monster collector game that you can play with friends completely for free on all platforms, coming very soon, and it is poised for a global takeover. And we're talking the likes of Power World, having millions of players at launch. There's already 14 million people that are pre-registered for the game. It is going to be a massive hit, and we need to talk about why. Let's dive into it. So if you know me, I'm Critical Card Man, and I love monster collector games. I'm not a big fan of Pokemon anymore. I feel like that phase of my life is over, but I love to play monster collectors that are not Pokemon. So this game really caught my attention. Just the twining mechanic was something that is completely innovative. It's never been done in the industry before, and I'm super excited to try it out. I love when these companies come up with fresh ideas that have never been seen in the monster collecting genre. Like Power World did it a few years ago when they combined Arc and Pokemon and created Power World. It was such a unique idea, and I put a lot of time into Power World. But ultimately, I decided Power World is not really the game for me because it's not, as much as I like the idea of survival and creature collecting. Um, the big thing for creature collecting for me was collecting the creatures and seeing if I was, the best trainer in all the land, becoming the best Ash Ketchum I could be. So that's where Aniimo steps in, and it's really, really something that I'm excited about because the world is absolutely stunning. And the fact that it's available on pretty much all platforms is something else that is amazing. Um, I'm super excited to play this game, particularly with my wife. But I want to dive into a few key points because I do cover a smaller indie creature collector game called Card Me. And I absolutely love Card Me. It is the game I focus on most of the channel. And I've made some videos where I kind of criticize Card Me a little bit because I want to see Card Me go mainstream as well. This video, I want to take a deep dive look at Aniimo and say, hey, what can we pull from Aniimo and put in a Card Me to improve the game? I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand Card Me is an indie title, whereas Aniimo is not. It's backed by a giant studio, which is fair. But still, there are plenty of amazing ideas that Aniimo has that I think can be implemented into other games. So let's take a look. The first thing I want to look at is the variation. I've talked about variety in some of my other Card Me videos. I am just absolutely mind blown by the sheer amount of variety when it comes to Aniimo. I had to go and look up how many different Aniimo are currently expected to be at launch. And I believe when I looked it up the last time, it said there's 190 Aniimo at launch. And that is not including the shinies and stuff, so you can double that, which they call the shinies sparklings in this game, which I think is really cool. But just the sheer variety, the fact that not every Aniimo, but a lot of them, dare I even say most of them, have more than one form. For example, you have the Prismana form, you have the Thunderstorm form, you have other different forms, darkened forms, you have of just one Aniimo. So you have one Aniimo, and then you split it off into 3-4 different directions, and that's not even including sparkling. That's just crazy amount. We do some quick math based on how much. If you just say, hey, we have 190 plus sparkling, okay, well then you have 380, and then you're not even factoring in the different forms of these things that can also spawn as sparkling. It's just a mind-boggling amount of different creatures that you can collect. Granted, they're not all unique, they share the same silhouette and stuff, if they're shiny as normal. But still, one of the best things, if not the best thing about a creature collector is just the chase. Getting that creature that you want, getting the form that you want, getting if it's a shiny or normal that you're after, and finding the best stats on that creature. And I think that is something that Aniimo absolutely nails, and it's something that we know is eventually coming to Card Me because I did an exclusive interview with the devs of Card Me. I will link that video in the description if you guys are interested in that. But in that interview, they mention that there may be new variety of different card meat coming here soon in the future, maybe even in season 3. That's super exciting, and I think they can pull a lot of inspiration from Aniimo and seeing how Aniimo did it, because I'm just super excited. Like, there's even forms from like different regions. Like, there are insect type Aniimo that have a forest form and a normal form. There are little crabs whose name elude me, where you can have a normal form of them and a mud flat form of them. It's just so cool how they split these things up into so many different subsections and variety. It's going to make hunting them a ton of fun. Another thing that I am absolutely blown away by, and will be one of the biggest reasons that I jumped in to Aniimo on launch, is just the ease of the social features. Like, and it's something that I've been begging card meat devs to adopt for a while, and hopefully behind closed doors they're working on it. But you look at the beautiful, beautiful world of Adele in Aniimo, and it just screams, man, I can't wait to explore this with my friends, with my wife. It's going to be such a blast to play and to experience these wildlands with other people. And you can easily play with your friends. You can easily do PvP or PvE content and group together and take on like dungeons and bosses and things like that. And it's going to be so much fun. It's something that I am super looking forward to. Like, you look at this game and you think to yourself, this is probably going to be a really fun game solo, right? I have no doubt that even solo will be a really positive experience. But then when you think, hey, once you combine the social features of playing with other people, it's going to be just next level. Like, so many Monster Collector games come out, and they don't have a whole lot of social features. Like, you'll find that a lot of creature-tamer games are mostly solo experience with some elements of PvP or things like that. And maybe you'll find some where you can tackle some like bosses together, but it's kind of rare. At least in my experience. I haven't played any newer Pokemon games, so I can't really speak to that too much. You know, guys, feel free to correct me in the comments. But I know, like, looking at Cartby, like, you can challenge, like, raid bosses together. Like, some of the legendary events that come out, there'll be, like, different raid bosses that you can challenge them together, and that's pretty cool. But one thing the game fundamentally lacks is a trading system, and that is present in Aniimo. It's showed off. It looks amazing. The fact that it's one of the first thought about features, because if I was thinking about a creature collector game and how I would develop it, trading would be one of the very first things that I thought about. And because I think, to me, that's what made a big part of what makes the games in this genre so special, is because when you catch these creatures, you want to be able to show them off to your friends. You want to be able to trade with your friends. And I think, like I said, that's what makes these games so special, or a big part of it. And so the fact that Aniimo's got these big cities, these big hub cities, and these little recreational areas that you can decorate with your friends, and you can invite your friends to come see and trade with your friends, and, you know, explore the world with your friends. Those are things that are going to make this game mainstream, have it blow up in a big, big way. And I think, you know, we all thought it was a big deal when Power World took over the internet for months after its launch. And it was a big deal. I'm not trying to diminish Power World's success in any way, because they've got a lot of great things going on. They have their 1.0 update coming out pretty soon, and I'm really excited about. And they've even launched a trading card game that I'm also excited about. So they had an immense success. And all I'm saying, though, is that Aniimo, I think, will have even greater success than Power World. A lot of the times when some of these games come out, you know, people will say, oh, this is the Pokemon killer. Pokemon is never going to be killed by one of these other games. Pokemon has been around for such a long time. It has had the ability to set its roots really deep down, and it's just never going to be killed. However, competition is great, and I do think that some of these games can coexist and live in the same world and not be killed by Pokemon. You're always going to have some people come out and say, oh, anything that's not Pokemon, it's a monster collector genre, is a clone of Pokemon or it's slop compared to Pokemon, and that's just not true. And it blows my mind how many, Nintendo fans out there think that Nintendo owns the monster training genre and that no one else should do it. Even Digimon, which came out, around the same time as Pokemon, has been under fire from Pokemon fans, saying that it'll never be as good. And while no, it's not as popular as Pokemon, not by a long shot, I just think it's ridiculous to think that people shouldn't innovate on the genre, because we see what innovation gets us in the genre. For the first time in a long time, we're getting some really, really cool monster collector, monster trainer games coming out. Aniimo, I think, will be eventually a 1A to Pokemon, or a 1B, whatever you want to call it. It'll be right there. I predict in 10, 15 years, our kids will grow up learning about Aniimo and seeing that, oh, there's two Titans in this industry now instead of just one. I mean, Digimon's up there too if you want to consider Digimon a Titan. I know I do, but I don't really think that people growing up in this generation look at Digimon as a Titan. But I think with all the innovation, all the amazing things coming in Aniimo, all the things they're doing right, it just shows that it can be done. It should be done because it gives us players more options. If you want to play a monster collector game, like I said, no one wants to be locked into just playing Pokemon if they want a good monster tamer, monster collector experience. And I think the last thing, because we talked about a variation, we've talked about social features, and I think the only other thing that I wanted to talk about was just and this is less gameplay and more financial and business decisions. I've mentioned that I know the game is, Corby is not in a position where it's like a financial titan like Aniimo is going to be. But I want to talk about the patience behind the team of Aniimo. The fact that they're putting so much effort and emphasis into not just one, not just two, but 3 beta tests for the game so that they deliver the best possible product to the consumer, which is us. But additionally, I want to talk a little bit about their marketing and advertisement strategy, because I think it's been fantastic. There's been a couple ads that I've seen, a couple trailers that I've seen them drop that I'm not sure the game's for me. It just looks a little bit too cozy. Now, granted, my wife's going to be playing with me, so she's going to be really into that coziness, whereas maybe I'm not going to be, because that's one difference between Corby and Aniimo. They really exist in 2 different sides of the spectrum when it comes to the creature collecting genre. Corby is more of a traditional, more like Pokemon, where you have your standard turn-based battles and things like that, and it's not so much open world exploration with friends as it is turn-based battles. Doing a narrative, you have some social elements. When you look at Aniimo, and it is a massive, sprawling, multi-biome open world, and very easy to group together with your friends. And it's also got these cozy features, and I think Aniimo's developers and publishers do a tremendous job of just showcasing everything the game has to offer. And the trailers have a great variety in themselves. We talked about the variety of different Aniimo, but the trailers have a lot of variety as well, because some, they talk about and they showcase all the different variety of Aniimo. Some show a narrative, what the story, a little bit about what the story is going to be, and some show more of the cozy side of the game. So they have trailers for everyone, and I think that's fantastic because it just invites more and more players in to play and try the game. You don't get 14 million people pre-register for a game that's got a really narrow scope of who they're aiming for, who their target audience is. And they've embraced a wide range of different types of players from different communities to come in and try this game. And I think that is to be commended, and it's something that Seven Pirates Behind Cardmate should really kind of strive to do, because thus far we've not seen hardly any advertisement for Cardmate, which I think is a shame, because I think Aniimo and Cardmate, they're probably two of the best, if not the two best creature trainer games on mobile and PC. And so I think showcasing what you have to offer and what your game can bring the player is an essential step in your game getting mainstream attention. I think I've seen like 1 to 2 ads on Facebook for CardMe, and like I said, that is a shame. I really, really want the marketing team, to get behind CardMe and help push it in the same way, in the same strategy that we've seen Aniimo get pushed, because we've seen that strategy has great success. But guys, that is going to do it for me. I'm super excited for Aniimo. I hope you were excited as I am. Can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts down in the comments about Aniimo and any ideas that CardMe could potentially draw from the game that you think would make CardMe more of a success and more mainstream. That would be deeply appreciated by the devs. I'm sure to hearing you guys' feedback. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.